This is David Eubank, and you're watching the Wow.
Yeah, watching the Break It Down show. Yeah, we're both struggling with a little bit of technical difficulties today for whatever reason. It just is
So,
not allowing us to do things.
yeah, it's like it automatically just flips back to that. And I've got
Yeah.
my, hang on, let me see if I can lock it the other way if it makes a difference.
All right. Let's see. Yeah. Try to lock it. You look good there. Man, what a handsome devil you are. All
Hang
right.
on.
Okay, I got you.
Scary.
Hey, everybody, you're watching the Break It Down show. I gotta look at the right camera. And we are excited to have David on the show. And David runs a thing called the Free Burma Rangers. I'm going to put a link up for everybody who's watching because this is why we're having them on. They do incredible work, and I thought we have a lot of conflict in the world. We talk a lot, especially on this show, about Israel versus Hamas, but also the Ukrainian conflict that's gone on. Talked about Iran. Well, there's conflict everywhere, and not just in these places. No one used to remember a couple of years ago, David, when no one cared about the Yemen conflict at all. Like no one even mentioned it.
Right. Now they're missiles, rockets, drones on ships. You want me to try to fix this?
You know what? Maybe just go with it. Well, how do we do with it? I don't know how to go with it. I don't know what to do about that. So I'm going to talk while you. Oh, you know what? Just leave it like that. Perfect. That's good. Going to be good enough, right?
Right.
Yeah. So nobody cared about the Yemen conflict. Then all of a sudden, somebody got mad because some potato chips cost more money or something, and all of a sudden it was cool to rocket people, and nobody cares. So you guys deal with Burma and the ongoing conflict there as well. Why do we care about some conflicts and not care about others?
Well, I think some of it's proximity. Is it close to us? Is it a threat to us? Do we know the people? Do we feel like it's going to impact our lives? And do we hear about it? So, for example, in Burma, most people might not know that it's the longest running war in the world. Over 75 years of war in Burma. And I think some reasons people don't know that much about it. It's halfway around the world, exactly from America. It's Asian. It's a small country that's never really threatened America. And there's not a lot of journalists there. You have to walk. It's very dangerous. The dictators will kill anybody who tries to go into the conflict areas. So I think Burma and other places is why we may not hear about it. It's too far. We don't know who they are. They're not a threat to us. We don't know anybody there.
When you say dangerous, you're not joking. You guys routinely take contact, and you lost one of your Rangers in the past, just about a week now. It's crazy how violent it is where you're at.
Yes. In Burma, in the last 4 years alone, over 4 million people have been displaced by the dictators. Thousands killed. I've lost 70 of my men total in all these years. I lost one guy 2 weeks ago. Actually, my son, who was back from university, was about 2 yards from him. I was 3 yards from him, right? And he was killed. I had one of my guys killed, 8 wounded as we were recovering wounded. And that day, among our friends, we had 28 killed, 250 wounded in this one battle as the resistance that we're with, the pro-democracy groups, trying to stop the dictators. So we've lost many of our team. I've been wounded 5 times, lost many of my friends. I cry a lot. And we go, though, because we feel God's love for these people.
Yeah. And just to be clear, you guys aren't combatants. So explain the mission of the Free Burma Rangers, because a lot of folks, even though you've been on the show a couple of times, a lot of folks, they're new to all this stuff. So explain the mission of the Free Burma Rangers, please.
The mission of the Free Burma Rangers is to give help, hope, and love and get the news out wherever we feel God calls us to go and people invite us. And that's in Burma, Iraq, Syria, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Ukraine, and Sudan. We go where people invite us to help. We're a humanitarian group. We're not a militia. We're not a military. Most of our team members are not armed. We're not pacifists. You can be armed. If you can get a weapon, you can carry it. In the Middle East, almost everybody in my team has some weapon or the other because we were attacked constantly by ISIS. In Burma, most of we don't have weapons because they're not available. But whether we have weapons or not, our job is the same. Help people and get the news out. And so we have the right, as everyone does, of self-defense, but we're not there to fight. We're there to help people. And to be clear, we have fought. I was shot right here by ISIS 7 yards from me. Another time I faced them 2 yards, and I fought back. But those are very rare. Our main job is give love, help people, and pray for our enemies. Pray for ISIS. Pray for the dictators in Burma. Pray for the Russians to change their hearts and get out of Ukraine.
Yeah. The one of the things in the mission that you've described for me is when the humanitarian aid folks can't bridge the gap between combat and them, you guys often fill that void going into the spot where it's too dangerous for anybody else. So talk about that, and then how on earth do you get the license to do that? How do you develop the capacity to go in, and also and this matters, the WASTA to be accepted by both sides as someone who can come in and do something when they allow you. Sometimes they don't allow you, but please talk about that.
Yes. So I'll just start with, how do we get anywhere? We get places, I believe, because God opens the door. And then people invite us, and we're in their hands. I was just talking to one of my team leaders going into a new area. I said, remember, they invited you. They want you to come. You can trust them. Don't ask them, is it safe? What's the security arrangement? Because if you ask that, they will know you're afraid. And that's not what they need to know. Second, they will think you don't trust them because they're alive. Whatever they're doing, they don't want to die, so you can trust them. So you don't ask, is it safe? Is it, what's the security? They'll tell you when the time comes. You ask them, how can I help? This is what I have. And so the relational part is, I believe, God's Spirit bringing us into places, and people really in great need, whether it's Burma when they invited us in 1993, or when ISIS was attacking in 2014 on to 15, 16, 17 in Syria and Iraq. People said, hey, come and help us. Because, as one of my friends said, Dave, you don't have any safety rules. And we don't. We don't want to get hurt, though. I don't even want a paper cut. But it's like this for all of us, for the viewers, the listeners. If a stranger is in trouble and you don't know if they're good or bad and you don't feel any purpose to go, you'll be really worried about how safe it's going to be because you don't know the value, the purpose. But if your daughter, your son, your mom, your dad, your wife, your husband, your grandparents were in trouble, you're going to worry about safety. That's going to be second. Your first concern is, how do I save them? Now, if you're dead, you can't save them. So you find the safest way to do the mission, but you will do the mission because of love. And so we ask God for love when we don't have it. When people invite us, we pray about it, and then we go. And we go in God's love. And because we're willing to take these risks, because we stand with the people, we don't run if they can't run. That's a rule for us. Very quickly, they trust us. And, for example, in Iraq, I said, I've got 5 vehicles, 2 armored vehicles. I got $100,000 cash. I got medicine for 5,000 people. I told the Iraqi commander, it's all yours. It's all yours. How do you want to use it? And we'll be with you. And I'm not sure if they believed us. So the very first night, boom, big firefight. We didn't run. And some of us fought back that could. Others were treated wounded. Some of my team were wounded. One of my team was killed. And my wife and kids were there. My wife and kids were not at the front line shooting. They were back where other families were. And when your wife and kids come and stand with their families who are in hiding, that means a lot. As many leaders told me in Sudan, you brought your wife and kids. You don't want anything from us. In Iraq, you brought your son, your most precious thing. I give you my most precious thing, my country. You must think that God thinks all people are the same to bring your family. And again, I don't bring them to the very front line, but they're back where other families are. And we bridge the gap, as you were asking about, between outstanding large NGOs that do wonderful work, and we partner with many of them. But normally and properly, they're out of the fight. It's very hard to feed people or do surgeries when you're getting shot at directly. So they're out of the fight. The problem, though, then there's a humanitarian gap between the very front line where the bullets are smacking and back where relief is. That gap could be a mile. It could be 50 miles. It could be 100 miles. So our role is being in that gap. Part of our team with the frontline element to treat wounded soldiers on our side and treat wounded enemy and wounded civilians and transport them back to the other part of our team that's in a midpoint, food, water, care, probably not getting shot at, maybe mortared, but you can function, and then pass them back to the big NGOs in the rear.
That's a big, complex machine. How do you earn the respect of the enemy? I mean, obviously, you're caring for their wounded, but when they allow you to enter the battle space to provide aid, care, food, medical, how do you work that side? Do you have comms with, say, ISIS? Do you talk to those guys?
I don't know if the enemy respects us. Maybe they try to kill us. We have no permission from any enemy forces. When we're in Ukraine with the Ukrainians, the Russians are shelling us like anybody else. While I'm in Burma, they're trying to kill us. I was wounded a couple of years ago in Burma. Just like I said, on this last mission, my son and I could have both been killed. They tried to kill us many times. ISIS, we never had a deal. We've never had a deal with our enemies. The only enemies that ever maybe respect us, and I know they do, is when they're captured or they fall wounded and they're brought to us and we treat them with love and respect. I can see their eyes. They've told me, if you were in our hands, we'd kill you. Why don't you kill me? I said, because the love of Jesus. And they're like, wow. And four ISIS ladies, for example, prayed to receive Christ and were sorry for what they did because we treated them kindly. Other ISIS women still want to kill us. So in the battle, the enemy's always trying to kill us, and we only can treat the wounded when they're in our hands and we're winning, so to speak.
Have you guys been contacted to go work and try to provide aid and medical care in the Hamas-Israel fight?
No, we have not been invited by anyone. We've been asked, have you gone or are you going? And our answer is this: no, we're not going unless God makes it clear that we're to go. And that's number one. Number two, people on the ground say, hey, Free Burma Rangers, you could help in this way. Can you do it? But we haven't felt that from God. Nobody from Israel or Palestine has asked us to come. So we've not gone there.
Right. Is there anybody else that does what you do, like this so close to contact kind of thing with this kind of a religious mission? Are you guys one off?
Well, I think there's probably all over the world little groups doing things at the front line. I don't think there's that many because it's very dangerous. And if the organization gets bigger, people get killed. Nobody likes that. So I think there's many individuals, many small groups trying to help people in that humanitarian gap. But most groups are a little bit out of the fight appropriately because you have to be accepted by the military. You have to agree to be with the local military. You might get shot. You might have the opportunity to fight back. And if you don't fight back, you might get killed. So you're really in a difficult situation. So I don't think it doesn't seem to be widespread, but I feel like it's not the most important thing what we're doing. It's just our little place in the humanitarian gap. And I've seen other missions come. I've seen lots of good groups do things, maybe not always in the front line, but a little bit back. In Burma, in Ukraine. Well, Ukraine, there's a lot. And there's a lot of people at the front line in Ukraine. So there's people all over the world taking stands to help others.
Your work is so hyper tactical. I mean, you guys are minute to minute at times. Do you ever get above that and look at operational or strategic level type things? Or is your mission just 100% focused on the ground and getting care where it needs to be?
Well, I pray to be strategic and to be operational. And when we're with the Iraqi army or the Peshmerga, the Kurdish, or with the Burma resistance, we're always talking about the bigger strategy, the operations. But in the end, our main focus is still tactical. How do we feed these people who are in hiding? How do we get the wounded off the battlefield over here? One day you'll be feeding and doing kids programs with 2,000 villagers hiding in the jungle because their home is destroyed and jets are hunting them. And then 2 days later, you're talking with the brigade commander saying he's going to do 3 different operations, 3 different attacks against Burma Army. Can we provide a surgical team? Can we get aid and litter team, frontline team? Can we set up capture collection points? And that becomes very tactically. So normally we're talking and thinking and integrating at the strategic and operational level, but mostly we're tactical, small little servants.
Right. Man, it's so dangerous what you guys, and I get you guys' updates, obviously, so I see, but there's just constant grisly wounds. How do you guys maintain this pace? Combat tears people apart emotionally too. So how are you guys protecting yourself?
Well, I learned a long time ago. I learned it in seminary. I was in the Ranger Battalion. I was infantry officer in the 2nd Ranger Battalion, U.S. Army, and then a team leader of an A-team at Special Forces, Green Beret. All that together, not very long, about 10 years, but that's what I did. Infantry, Ranger, Special Forces. From there, I went to seminary. My first day in seminary, I learned a really true lesson, and that is you can live well with sorrow. You can't live well with shame. And shame is something that you did that was wrong or something that you should have done, but you didn't do. you killed the wrong guy, you killed a kid, or you did something wrong, you forgot to put fuel in the truck and you made a mistake and people paid, or you didn't go out and help your buddy. You didn't take a chance to save somebody. Nobody knows, but you know. And that's shame. Well, Jesus comes to take our shame away of the things we did and we shouldn't have done, or the things we didn't do and we should have done. He takes that away. But sorrow is about love. It's about love. And you can live well with it. You can cry every day for people you've lost and still live well. So for us, we are in regular combat. I've been doing this 32 years in multiple war zones around the world. Like I told you, I was wounded 5 different times. I have fought, very rarely, but I have fought the ISIS 2 yards away, 7 yards away. I've engaged Burma Army. I had these experiences, but mostly I'm not torn up. I just feel sad sometimes. I came off this mission. I cried many times for people I lost. And we don't see a whole lot of mental combat problems where I work, because number one, many of them believe in God, and Jesus could heal you of anything. PTSD, all these things are real, but God is bigger. That's number one. You keep it to him. Number two, we keep evaluating. We're doing this for love. And number three, we obey Jesus. We forgive our enemies. Even if I don't feel it, I say it. And I say, Jesus, help me. Number four, we have purpose. These people we're with are fighting for their lives. It's not an elective war. They're going to die. Their mom and dad will die if they don't stand. And purpose makes a big difference. And we don't incentivize. We don't incentivize any combat trauma. You don't get paid for it. You don't get anything. You just link arms together, cry together, confess your mistakes together, things you're ashamed of, pray, and go. And, sometimes, Pete, we'll do a Good Life Club program the day after a battle. And, when you're singing with kids, these are tough guys right in the front line. Now they're singing dancing with kids. That's healing, man. You suddenly are like, you're laughing. When you laugh, you can't be stressed. At that moment, you can't. You might be stressed afterwards, but not at that moment. You're laughing with the kids, you're singing, and you're going, oh, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm risking my life for these kids. And that love is healing.
Yeah, man, you said a lot there, because you guys are just tough as hell. Everybody around you, the guys who are the actual combatants, it is crazy to live in that world. Does anybody have hope that this thing is, and I mean, like in the near distant future, that something's going to get resolved in Burma, or do we expect another 70 years of this violence?
We don't know. But for the people in Burma, they really don't have a choice. I mean, that's part of the mental health is like, I don't got a choice anyway. It's not like I can just run away or die or lose everything. You either die, become a slave, or you fight. These are the three choices. And so some people run away. Most people do not want to be a slave. Those that want to fight, then some of them aren't even fighters, but they believe they're doing this for love. And they all have hope that this will be over. Right now in Burma, the pro-democracy groups, for the first time in history, control over half the country. They took over half the country in the last 4 years. They would have taken even more, except Russia and China heavily support the dictators in Burma with money, jet fighters, attack helicopters, missiles, rockets, drones, armor, artillery, heavy. On the last battle I was in 2 weeks ago where my guy died, we had 3 kinds of Russian jet fighters attack us. SU-30s, MiG-29s, Yak-130s, 2 kinds of Chinese jet fighters, J-2000 and Kor 89 fighters, and all on us. So without that support from Russia and China, the dictators, maybe they wouldn't have lost yet, but they'd own maybe 10% of the country. And so people there hope that the Western world, America, will help, even just humanitarian, help the people or something to stop the drones and airplanes. But they do believe they're going to win. They do believe that Burma's already changing.
If you could sit down with the boss and talk to Donald Trump, what would you say to him right now?
I'd say, thank you for helping people be free. Thank you for standing up for truth and sanity. And I'd say, sir, I encourage you, call on Jesus' name in your personal life and in your larger role as a president. He'll help you in both ways. And in terms of Burma, stand with these people. Not only is it morally and spiritually right, but a democratic Burma sitting right under China is of huge strategic, economic value and importance to the United States and the rest of the world. You have an opportunity to have a real democracy right under China rather than a puppet. So please take that opportunity. It won't cost a lot. You don't need to send one U.S. troop. Number one, you give humanitarian assistance through the resistance. Number two, a way to stop the jets and drones. That alone would probably do it. But stand with these people and help them be free, and they're already your friends. They'll be really good friends in the future. I think the same with Ukraine. Stand with the Ukrainians. They're not perfect, like we are. There's corruption, so there's in America, but that did not earn an invasion by a dictator. And so stand with people who are oppressed. They'll stand with you.
Yeah, boy. Again, that's why I love having you on, man. It's so direct and like to the point. You were talking earlier about how if you are under somebody else's protection, you don't need to ask how dangerous it is. Obviously it's dangerous. You're in a dangerous place. And I say this from experience because when I'm doing my collection back when I was, in combat zones, if an Iraqi sheikh said, Pete, come to my house, but don't bring the army with you because those guys kind of cramp my style. And they would say, but I'll protect you. That was it. Conversation was over. No, listen, you know and I know. I am not I am mitigating risk. I am accepting risk. But my job's dangerous. Your job is dangerous. We don't get to be safe. We have to say, this is a risk I'm willing to take. It could go sideways, but that's every day of the life. If you go out in a combat patrol, anyone can shoot anybody at any time. I mean, Afghanistan, we had Afghan soldiers shooting Americans, so we never know. So when you talk about that protection, I am as safe as they are. When I got to places, as soon as I could, I would take my gear off. So I'm geared up how they're geared up. Because if they're going to live that way, I have to. That's how I built trust. And so I understand how that goes. It sounds insane to people who go to Starbucks every morning and have a wonderful life that you would take off your body armor and helmet and eye protection to sit next to someone dressed similar to, I'm not wearing a Sheikh's outfit, but people don't understand that acceptance of the risk in the area and how quite frequently it's just not that risky. On any given day, the most dangerous place in the world, at least Iraq. But my job was to go out and get and make contacts that nobody else could make. And so you have to accept that risk. You have to accept that protection because how else can you do it if you don't?
Yes, I love that story of you and the Sheikh. That nails it. And I'm so glad for your courage and your love. And I think what you experience, certainly I do, and I think anyone does, once you link in with the people, you take off your armor, you let down, and you trust them, you feel much better. You don't have fear right over here. And the thing is, if someone wants to kill you, your armor is not going to save you. They shoot you right here. There's no armor there. Or they blow up a big enough IED or VBED that it disintegrates you. So armor is important, but it doesn't guarantee anything. It's just something you're doing to mitigate risk. But your greatest mitigation of risk, as you did, was trusting the people, showing them love. They show you love. And in that culture, they'll die for you. You come in their house, there's no better security in the world because they know aunts and uncles and relatives for 100 miles in every direction. They're going to tell them what's happening. You're in their hands. Yes. That's the safest place to be. And you're in their hands. You're in God's hands. So, yeah, I love that feeling of freedom. Like, just like you, we don't just foolishly go in an area. We're always looking. We're always thinking. We may not ask, is it safe? But I'm looking. I have a brain, and I have guys ready. If I feel something's really strange, I'll say, hey, you guys post up security there and there. Just don't look like you're doing it. Just be casual. Wait, look around. I'll tell my kids, hey, look out the back. Let me know if something happening. I'll get up with a smile. And it's a real smile. But it's not like I've forgotten all the things I ever learned. But I like what General Mattis said in the Iraq War. He said to the Marines, go in and make friends with everybody and have a plan to kill them. What that means is that you come in with an open heart and arms, but you still got a weapon. If they don't receive it and attack you, you're ready. And that's a great posture because most of the time you never have to pull anything out. When you do, you're ready. And usually you've got a lot more friends.
Yeah. I don't know about your world, but in my world, when people are like, here, it killed anybody, that kind of thing. And I'm like, look, if I get into gunfights, I'm a spy. I'm not going to be able to go back to that area. And so I have to work within the bounds of what my job is. What I return, of course, right? But if I do that, it's like, hey, I'm all done here. Nobody, that trust that I earn when I put my life in that sheikh's hands or that governor's hands and they protect me, well, there's a reciprocal trust because I'm a risk to them. And the most brilliant thing you said was they talk about us like they would anywhere. You got this California guy here. He was at my house. This is Sheikh talking. His name is Pete. Next thing I know, I go to another Sheikh's house, and they know, I was in a motorcycle accident. My body doesn't move very good. So I told him, I just don't sit on the floor very well. The next time I went to a Sheikh's house, wasn't in that Sheikh's neighborhood. There was a chair waiting for me. You know, they knew.
They love
talked,
you, Pete.
and
They love
I
you.
know, right? Yes.
That's the best security in the world.
Yeah, the respect, security, and it's reciprocated. And it's tough because the gentle world is different than the hard world. And you guys live in a hard place where things are very elemental. And just that respect and that courage that you guys have to have, is that innate or is that developed?
Well, I think we all have innate courage about things we really care about, right? Anyone that sees a loved one in trouble will do something. I think that's innate for all of us. Some maybe have more than others. And then developing courage is practicing things. You know, one reason you train is so that when action happens and you're scared, you have something you can do, which takes your mind off yourself and your fear, but it's action. So you have for example, we were in an area where there were many airstrikes in Burma. I had some new people with me. And we're getting airstrikes almost every day before we got there. And we expected to have them ourselves. And I saw a lot of the new people afraid, and rightfully so. I said, okay, we're going to practice. What do we do with these different kinds of jet attacks? How do we respond? And I just ran, slow drill, fast drill until we got fast. And then we all calmed down. I remember one lady came and said, well, I'm a whole lot less afraid now because I know what to do. I don't just focus on my imminent death. I focus on what's everybody else doing. You know, who needs help? Is there an old lady or a kid that's left out in the open? That's number one. Number two, where's the lowest ground I can find? Is there a trench, a bunker, a hole? I'm going to go there. And I'm going to go practice it. And I'm going to practice it daytime, practice at night. Where's my flashlight? Where's this? And those things that you train to do then put your mind away from yourself and getting killed in that imagination to reality. Yeah, you might get killed. It hadn't happened yet. I got things I can do to help others and myself. So that training really helps you be braver. You may not feel brave, but you do the brave things when the time comes.
Yeah, man. You're saying, I'm trying to because people who haven't been in combat can't understand a lot of the context that's in what you're talking about. So I guess I'll ask you this. When you go into these environments, you have access to commanders, and I would like to know what that relationship is like, because obviously you're a leader, but you are a subordinate element to anybody whose battle space you're in. For anybody listening, subordinate element within a battle space. So let's say Pete's the colonel of this area, and we're in an active firefight, and I got some dude, American guy showing up. Well, first off, I probably know who David. I probably heard about him, but I have to account for that unit, that element, so we don't whack them and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And so you have to build a relationship with these guys because they're running a dangerous machine, and you can't just swim around in their pool without telling them, hey, I'm going to be in your pool. So I'm sorry. Talk about the relationships between you and the commanders. Yeah,
it's a relationship, I hope a friendship, and definitely subordinate. I come in and say everything. I'm Dave Eubank. Like you said, they usually heard of us. I'm a free Burma Ranger. We're here. We're not part of the U.S. government. We're not the CIA. We're not special. We're not James Bond. We're Mr. Bean. We're this small, but God is big. And God sent us to help you. Here's everything I got. How do you want to use us? And it would be like if you're running the battle space and I was sent to help you by somebody and I showed up, I'd go, sir, I'm Dave Eubank. I got my family here. They're going to be in the rear doing the wife and kids family programs. I got this much money for that. I got this many kids I can take care of. I got this many vehicles. I got these 4 frontline medics. I got an operator and a communicator, and I have 2 of my own security guys. And I got this much money. It's all yours. How do you want to use us? And we will follow all your orders. We're under your command. We don't want to mess you up. We don't want to, get shot by you accidentally. We don't want to make a problem for you. We don't want to embarrass you. We'll make no reports except what you see. You'll see our reports before you send them to anyone. We're here as your friends. Use us how you want. And normally, Pete, at first, they're a little bit, who are these guys, right? But over time, as we work together, and when we make mistakes, we admit them. We say we're sorry. We do whatever restitution if there's a mistake, and we stick with these people. And when they have to run and things are blown up, we don't leave them. We're usually the last people out with them or even after them. And they go, what are you doing here? You're the last people out, man. It's not even your house. I said, well, it's your house. You're my brother now. It's my house. Yeah. I'm going to stay with you. And I'm trying not to get in your way.
Yeah, and how do they respond to that? Like when you come in, look, when you learn how to speak commander, you've been a commander. Let me just say, I'll just give my point of view on this real fast. When I would come across a new unit, battalion commander, brigade commander, I would make sure I engage with them, and I would say, hey, you're not going to get what I do right now, but give me 3 weeks, you'll start to see it. And in 3 months, you'll say, hey, Pete, you're the #1 force multiplier in our area. We couldn't have done this without you. You don't have to say that now, because it's already going to happen. I've done this a bunch of times. And so these guys are like, who is this? And I'm like, and by the way, I'm saying all this because all of your peers have said, be audacious. We love audacity. We all love Napoleon. And so they told me to tell you this, right? And so because I speak commander, they all go, all right, well, go do it. And then it's just up to David. And then it's just up to me. And I'm going to deliver. And then 3 months later, they're looking at me like, Pete, sit on my couch whenever you want. Come talk to me. I need to know what you think all the time, right? And so you learn how to speak commander. You've been a commander. Talk about that part, the acceptance that the commander gives you. Because if they don't want you there, guess what? You're going to leave, right? So you have figured this out. Talk about how they receive you.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I understand it all because it's what I've done my whole life. But
right.
For example, one example of that military relationship, I was in Sudan, South Sudan, for the first time in my life. And I didn't know anybody. And I was with an NGO that wanted us to go to the frontline areas they didn't go to in Sudan proper, the Nuba Mountains. An outstanding NGO. But there were some relationship problems within the military of the South Sudanese Armed Forces fighting each other. The NGO was fine. But it's hard to penetrate into these two warring factions. And so I said, well, let's go see the commander. Okay. And we drove up and they stopped us at a checkpoint before the headquarters. And very stern security, like, what are you doing here? I remember getting out of the truck and it's just my language. I don't know what they thought of me, but I think I got out of the truck as a friendly, professional senior officer. I just got out and go, hey, I'm Dave Eubank. God bless you. Good troops. You guys are studs. Thanks for securing this area. I'm here to see General so-and-so. And no, I've never met him, but he's my friend and we're here to help you.
Right.
So please show me how to get there. And it's different every time. I always pray first. But I think there's a professional way in language. Like, I think any surgeon with experience in an American hospital could go to any hospital around the world. And in one sentence, the surgeons in that hospital would know, you're real. Come on in. And so I think, Pete, you're that way. You're professional. We come in and we go, hey, I'm Dave Eubank, Burma Rangers, humanitarian group. You've heard about us. Colonel so-and-so told me to come here. I'm at your service. Whatever you want me to do, this is what I got, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they're ready. And they can look at you and know you're serious. They can look at your guys and the vehicles, if you got vehicles, or our horse and mule train in Burma. Everything's locked down tight. Everything's organized. People are serious. They're not mean. They're smiling. But they're fit and they're ready to go. And you go, okay, that's real. Or even in Burma, when my kids come up, when they were real small, riding a horse with all its gear, you don't have to say one word. The way that kid rides that horse is like an Indian. They've been riding their whole life. They go, okay, that's competency right there. And somehow they got here, so they can't be complete idiots. But you're right. There's a culture of the military that, I grew up in Thailand as a little kid playing Army. Then I was in the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M. That's 4 years. And I think I was kind of born to be a soldier. Then I was in the Army only 10, but all of it on the special operations side, except for a little bit of infantry. And I love it. And then I've been in war now 32 years since then. And so it's my profession. It's my language. I'm not good at it, but I understand it, and we understand each other.
Yeah, man. You're right. And everybody's going to think, like, why are we not good at it? No, the more we know, the less the more we realize we don't know shit. And you're right. I learned, here's the thing, like in my field, and for everybody watching, David will know this, but if you're a spy and you go to deploy, and let's say you deploy for 8 months and you get a solid 7 months of collection ops, that might be the only time you ever collect tactically in the field, because then you promote up. Maybe you run a team, but maybe you run a desk the next time you deploy. And then the next time you are promoted again, and now you're at 2 or 3, maybe even 4 ranks between your deployments, and you're still only at that 7-month on the ground experience level. So as you iterate through these different eras, you read more books, you talk to more people, you absorb more of what combat is. 32 years, I mean, it's not just a PhD grade of understanding of things. You can see and feel things that nobody else can because of the experience level. And believe me, everybody, when you're at that level and your head is on a swivel and you're managing things, everything gets granular, and you learn for forever. If David stopped doing this today, he would still be learning about combat the next 15 years and get better and better and better at it, because he's just steeped in it. And that's a thing to understand. And I'm sure you can talk about this, David, but there's times where a lesson will unlock in my head today from something that I experienced 10 years ago. Well, not 10 years now, 15 years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, I never realized that. What an amazing bit of wisdom I just picked up. And I haven't been in that office for 15 years.
Yeah, we're always learning. Last night, I just came out of Burma. I'm in the United States for 4 days right now to put my middle daughter, Susan, into veterinary school here in Texas. So she's going to Texas Tech vet school, and they're in their orientation right now. And I'm here doing the interview. We're in our little barn. This is a barn, and right behind me are horses. My daughters, all my kids ride and compete in rodeo and play polo, and this is one of our team polo shirts. But anyway, she's in school. So last night we said, we've watched one movie as a family this year. That's it, because we're usually in the jungle and doing stuff. But wow, we're in America. Let's watch a movie. What are we going to watch? Zulu, which I recommend, with wonderful Michael Caine, in a young role, and great acting, great movie. Anyway, this small group of British soldiers defeat a much larger and very brave Zulu army. And I was looking at the movie going, how did they win? How did they win? And I thought of 5 components. Number 1, leadership, outstanding leadership. Number 2, training. They practice. It wasn't just good leaders and brave guys. They practiced over and over, and they worked as a team. Number 3, they had enough material, they had enough arms and ammunition. They didn't have everything they wanted. They didn't have cavalry reinforcements. They didn't have artillery, but they had enough arms and ammunition to do the job. Number 4 was to train and using it to the best of their ability. And so the last one was tactics. How did they put all that together? How did they put the leadership, the training, and the discipline, the arms and ammunition, the terrain? In this case, it's a mission station. And then what are the tactics that you put together to win? Combat takes all those things, putting it all together. If you miss one or two of them, you're probably in big trouble. And when you look, and if you're weak in one, you have to adjust and be different in the other. So, speaking of war, I really like, and I tell the ethnic people this, especially the small pro-democracy groups around the world getting beat up by bigger forces. Nathan Bedford Forrest was a Confederate general, and he never lost an engagement. Of course, he's on the losing side, and of course, the South side, in terms of standing up for slavery, is evil, and they had to lose. I'm glad they lost, but That's where I come from, the South, and that's still my family, even though when they were wrong. And you can still learn lessons. And Nathan Bedford Forrest said, when he was asked, how come you never lost a fight against the Union forces, ever? He said, I always got there the firstest with the mostest. And it means if I couldn't be there first with the most people, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And so when you have a choice, your bravado alone, your cause alone won't win. You have to put all those things together. And so I learned from people like Nathan Bedford Forrest. I learned from the enemy Zulu, how they moved. I learned from ISIS enemies, how they used drones, how they did things. I can learn from everybody. I don't have to agree with them. I can learn from them. And I learned a lot last night just watching that movie from the British Army.
Yeah. You learned about, hey, let's cut down the paperwork and get the bullets in the soldiers' hands too.
Yeah, that was the day before at Iswandana, when an entire regiment was wiped out. Yeah. And they were maybe overconfident. They were certainly surprised by the Zulu warriors, maybe 20,000 of them against about 1,500 British. And they overwhelmed their logistics system. And, maybe if they even had more bullets, they still would have died. I don't know, but they were wiped out.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Another movie from that era, Lawrence of Arabia, I think applies again to guys like us. So one of Lawrence's problems, and I don't know that it was solvable, was he was gone too much. He did a great job being in the field, but when he returned, he had no influence. He didn't have Wasta. And I found this a lot where It was more dangerous for me in the staff room. The staff would try to kill me, figuratively, not literally. But I could go out and talk to sheikhs, governors, elders, all kinds of people, and really make a difference for the commander on the battlefield. But when I came back, if I didn't spend enough time with all the different offices and elements, man, they didn't get me. And I had a lot of influence. And you know how these guys get. They get jealous. If the commander's like, let's go to lunch. And I'm like, hey, listen, if I go to lunch with you too much, and the commander has no friends. Everybody got to understand that. So there's all this stuff that happens on our side. And that's one of the things I think that Lawrence didn't get right was he was gone too much. You're doing a great job. You're talking to me. You come back and you try to speak out and you said, get into the news with what you guys are doing. But do you think about in that way? Like, I can't be so focused on Burma and the mission that the mission suffers because I'm doing, it's that balance of being on the ground and then being around an oak table, talking to people that have power that you don't have.
Yeah. Well put. There's a lot of people with power I don't have.
Right.
I prefer being in the field. I feel that's where I'm the most useful. I spend most of my time in the field, and I spend very little time traveling and speaking. I mean, fortunately for technology, I can do an interview often with a Starlink in the jungle in Burma or in the desert in Syria, and I've done them both. I think I've talked to you from some of those places. Yes. So mostly I am in the field because I think that's where I'm more useful. And my biggest question really is where in the field, because we've got Burma's a country the size of Texas or California, and we have 150 teams spread out all over. And where do I need to go just in Burma? And then we have missions to Iraq and Syria, and then I'm going in 4 days to Ukraine, and then we've got Tajikistan, Afghanistan. We have Sudan rotation. So for me, I just pray, and I pray to God. I ask my family, I ask my team leaders and my staff, where do you think I'm most needed? And then the first people I ask are the people there, like whether it's in Ukraine or Burma, I'll ask them, hey, do you want me to come now? Or what do you guys need now? And so all together we make these decisions.
Yeah, you made a great point that I want to make sure we highlight. Burma is a small Asian country, except for it's bigger than Texas. It's huge, right. And there's a long, narrow portion where there's just not a lot of space. And if you want to fight, man, that's the worst kind of fighting to have to do. I don't know how the northern land compares to the coastal part, but it's a big place. I mean, it takes 16 hours to drive from far east Texas to far west Texas. So that gives everybody an idea. It's huge. It's huge. Burma,
that I just went through Dalhart, Texas in the Panhandle near Amarillo. And Dalhart, Texas, for example, is closer to the capitals of 5 other states, closer to Omaha, Nebraska, Wyoming, Colorado, Kansas, of course, closer to there than it is to Austin, Texas. So, wow. So Burma's the same, except worse roads. And because of the fighting, sometimes you can't even use the road. So many places we walk 1, 2, 3. We've done missions. We walked 5 months, not in a straight line, but just going like that. And so it's complex. Burma is very mountainous in the north and on the borders. The central plains are pretty flat with rice. Down in the bottom it becomes mountainous again, and very complex. There's over 100 different ethnic groups, 12 major big ethnic groups, but 100 different ethnic groups and languages, 112 actually. And Burma's comprised of the ethnic Burmans, that's the majority, but they only comprise maybe 55% of the country. The other 45% are all of these tribes. And they've never really understood each other, got along, because the Burmese kings were always hammering them. But now, what's different in the last 4 years is Burmans themselves have got tired of their own dictatorship and joined the ethnics, which is why the pro-democracy groups, now ethnic and Burma together, are slowly winning.
Yeah. It's I always marvel here in California, the distance of things from the coast where I live to El Paso. It's just not that far. But El Paso is nowhere near anything else in Texas. Even if you go to Midland, Texas, you're hours in. If you drive to Alpine, Texas, good luck. It's forever. It's huge. It's a big place. The other thing I wanted to go back to this because we went in a really interesting direction before, but I wanted to come back to being invited. Again, from my experience, if I was sent by the commander, hey, go jump in with the special operations team, SEAL team, 12, and go to APGAR and help them. Yes, sir. Of course, right? Am I invited? Oh, I'm the commander. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't work like that when you show up by yourself. When those guys invite me, and so I wouldn't do this with the commander. I would go to the SEAL team commanders, who sits higher, and I'd say, hey, listen, boss wants me to go, as you heard, to APGAR. How do I make sure that the team, and then they handle it, right? Because I can't just show up on a helicopter and get anything done. It'll take me 3 weeks to get anything accomplished if I'm not invited, right? That invitation is well, it's elemental. I wouldn't go. I would obey the commander's order, but I wouldn't go with the ability to do anything. I would rather slow down and get it done right, because you can't just show up in someone's space and expect them to welcome you if you're unannounced, unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's true everywhere in the world. It's true in the American military, any military in the world, even the poorest, smallest resistance group that's sharing rifles. You can't just come in and go, I'm going to help you. That rarely works. And so it's vetting relationships. For me, it's God's leading and opening doors, and prayer and honesty and respect. And then step by step, you're in. Now, in some areas, it's easier to go. Right now in America, it'd be very hard to show up on an army post uninvited and say, hey, I'm here to help you. They kind of look at you like, who are you?
Right.
But there was a time in our history, in Texas, for example, if you showed up in Texas right now and you went to the Texas Rangers or the police or the National Guard and say, hey, I'm Pete, we're Pete and Dave, you want to help you, they'd go, do what? And who are you? But there was a time in our history in Texas, where I am right now, in a place called the Alamo. And from Tennessee came a group of volunteers. They were not Texans. They were volunteers. They were not invited. They came down and they said, we're going to help you. And they were welcome, because the people in the Alamo were in big trouble. So if any country, including America, gets in big enough trouble, our revolution, we didn't fight it alone. We had the Germans, von Steuben. We had Lafayette, the French. We had a lot of people come. Many of them and most weren't even invited. They're like, we're here to help you. Thank you. So that will happen again if the war gets big enough in America, where, you want to help me, you can. But even then, are you crazy? Are you someone that's going to hurt my guys or help? You're always going to be vetted. And so to me, it's important prayer and invitation. We've never gone anywhere. We just said, hey, there's a problem in Nigeria. I'm going to go help. No way. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I've never done that. Maybe that's right for some people. For me, it's I hear there's a problem. I pray. I say, God, do you want us to go? And maybe at the most, I'll reach out to people who are there and say, look, we're praying about helping. We're not sure if we should, but let us know what you think. That's the most we'll ever do. But mostly it's not like that. Mostly it's like, I'm in Burma and I get on my satellite communications, I get an invitation. Hey, I know you guys are in Burma, but ISIS is killing our friends in Iraq. Will you come help us? Really? Okay. And we pray about it. And, we've said no to many things. We've been invited to the Central African Republic, to Burundi, to Nigeria, and to Niger by different kinds of people. Hey, go there and help. And none of it really fit for us. And even Ukraine, we didn't go right away. I was in Burma when the Russians invaded Ukraine, February 24, 2022, the most recent invasion. They invaded before 2014 as well, but 2022, I didn't just go right away. I was in a big war in Burma. That day, I was dragging one of my guys who was killed. I was wounded also. And I thought, I'm not going to go unless God sends me. But step by step, we got invited by Ukrainians. We had a Ukrainian come visit us, said, please help us. I got the bracelet she gave me, the colors Ukrainian flag, blue and gold. And she said something really true. She lost her brother in the fighting. And her dad was a 60-year-old fighting also. They've lost their homes. And she said, don't feed your fear, feed your faith. Please come help us. Please stand with us. So we have a small rotation to Ukraine as well. But that's on an invitation.
You brought the faith thing up throughout the entire, I guess it makes us uncomfortable sometimes when we're open with our faith here in America, because we don't ultimately day to day feel like we need any kind of faith. Okay, and that's nice. And we have a separation of church and state. The reality is when you go abroad, when I always use these examples because they're just going to still be great examples. But the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan was what the country was named when we were there, right? It's in the damn name of the country. On the Iraqi flag to this day, Allah Akbar, right? So when we go and we don't respect the need for religion in a lot of these places, and Pete would say, the closer you are to survival, the more important God becomes, because you need every advantage and you certainly don't need any disadvantages. And so religion becomes very, very, very important. What do you think about that position where just because we have a separation of church and state and don't have a faith leading kind of life that we have to live here? I mean, people can live their entire lives in America, be 100% fine, make a ton of money, have great lives, and never set foot in a church, right? But that is not the case in a lot of the rest of the world.
Well, I think there's two parts for me anyway about that question. One part is the rest of the world. There's a really good book called The Religion and the Art of Statecraft. And one of the case studies in this book was the CIA made a study of the Ayatollah Khomeini that eventually took over Iran. And the basic premise was the Ayatollah is a crazy, rabid religious nut and Islamic crazy guy. There's going to be always populations of crazy religious nuts, but they're going to be small. That's just normal. So don't worry about him. Well, they underestimated him. And the Iranian Revolution, Muslim Revolution, kicked out the Shah, took over the country, took Americans hostage. And the U.S. was not prepared for it because we thought they're crazy. They weren't crazy. They believed in this. Now, whether they're right or wrong is a whole other issue. But they believed in God. They really believed. And so I think that we ignore religion at our peril, even if we're atheists, because other people believe it. They're not kidding about it. I like what Jesus said, though, by their fruit you shall know them. And so you talk about God a lot, but you slaughter people, you lie, you cheat. Well, you're not serving. You may talk about it, but you're not listening to them. But anyway, it's real. And for me, so we always respect people's faith. I don't necessarily respect their religion because it may be Satanist. It may be some radical form of Islam that no way I'm going to respect that, but I respect the person. That could be a big difference. You can respect a person who has a different view than you while not respecting their view. You can separate those two. Love and respect the person. You don't have to agree with them. So we always try to do that. And then there's the second part of me is personal. Well, yeah, I'm in America right now. We got horses here. Since I landed in the country 2 weeks ago, we've skydived as a family. All my kids are licensed jumpers. We jump together. We've rodeoed, ridden horses, climbed mountains, done all kind of cool stuff, and it's fun. But that doesn't get to the sin in my heart. You know, for me, what I believe is I follow Jesus because he changes my heart, because he shows me my sin. I get to see what's wrong with me. He forgives me my sin. He helps me forgive others when there's no power on earth that I can do to forgive them. Jesus, I know you told me to forgive them, so I'm going to, but I need your help because I really hate them. And he gives us that ability. He's real. He overcomes the work of the devil and any demon. He gives us purpose in life, and he takes us to heaven. So I share that, Pete, with anybody who will listen. You know, I pray first. I don't just say it, but I believe it. Now, in Free Burma Rangers, we have mostly it's led by Christians, but you don't have to be one. We have Muslims, agnostics, atheists. In fact, one atheist saved my life twice in the Battle of Mosul, one of my team members who's still an atheist. We have spirit worshipers. We have Yazidis. We have Buddhists. Everybody's welcome if we do this for love. And for me, I do this because of Jesus.
Yeah. Good job hat tipping the Yazidis. There's an easy one to hate, right? Because they're Satanists, but they also believe in all loving God he and Satan made up. And it's like, no, and I don't want to dive too deep into my knowledge of Yazidis, but that's about the end of it.
Well, yeah, you know a lot. You have good knowledge. So
thanks, man.
You know, and I think they're very misunderstood, but I think, the first people we worked with in the Middle East were the Yazidis. And they were getting hammered by ISIS because they were, like you said, devil worshippers. Well, they were, but they weren't. They didn't worship. Yeah, right. Their view of the devil is different than our view. Their interpretation is that he tests you. He's not evil. He's like God's tester. And with that, it's a syncretic religion, Yazidism, meaning syncretism means combining a bunch of religions. So it's a combination of Zoroastrian thought and beliefs, Christian thoughts and beliefs, animistic spirit worship thought and belief, Muslims, they just made up their own thing. And I just really hated them.
Yeah, and they're largely helpless because they're farmer, they're rural people. They're not I don't want to say not warriors, but they're there to exist.
Right.
Yeah, I want to ask you one last thing before I let you go. And thanks, man, for all your time. I know you're busy, and it means a lot to me that you spent some time with me. What do you do when you're out there doing things, in the mix? How do you slow down? How long is a day for you? Because you and I both know there's always something else you can do. In combat, there's always something else you can do. So how do you force yourself to slow down? How do you get your mind off of it? What do you do?
Well, I wake up every morning, whether I'm in a hole, in a hammock, on a bed, and I try to pray, Jesus, make me useful today. Show me my mistakes. Please forgive me. Help me forgive others. I say the Lord's Prayer. I love it. When the disciples asked Jesus how to pray, he told them, our Father who art in heaven, holy is your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Give us what we need. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. It's a two-way street. Lead us not to temptation. Deliver us from evil. Man, I say that, Pete, with a lot of fear sometimes. Deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory. I say that. I say the Lord's Prayer. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He lays me down in green grass. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He's giving you all these good things. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death. That's scary. I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. Pete, you and I know the enemies don't all go away. They're still there. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but they're there. But you prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. I should focus on what you gave me, not on my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. You give me honor, you give me all I need and more. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I'm going to be with God, not because I'm good, because he loves me. So I start every day like that, Pete, that I can. And I try to listen to God, each other, and go. And then God gives me strength. And when I need to sleep, he lets me sleep.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I love it, man. Anything you want to say in closing? If not, nothing else. I love chatting with you. I love you guys' mission. I want to always support you guys in any way that I'm able. Anything to close us out?
Yeah. First, I want to say, Pete, thank you. You understand all this so well. I love your courage. I love your experience. I love your love of people, and that you trust people differently. You like these shakes, and that you took your helmet off. You took your vest off. You're one with them. And I love you. I love that. And for our listeners, our viewers, I want to say I'm doing this from America. What a wonderful country. Of course, we have things wrong with us. But I remember a line from a song by Jackson Browne, the rock singer. He said, don't remind me of my failures. I haven't forgotten them. We have plenty of them. But we want to remind each other to do good things, to do brave things. That America is great actually when it helps others. We can take care of ourselves only. You won't be great. You just be taking care of yourself. When you help others and make friends, they help you. And I'm so grateful for what the country and people of America have done for people all over the world. Groups like me wouldn't be functioning without the American Christians, mostly, who give us money, who encourage us, who help us. So I'm grateful for our country, the freedoms here, how things work. And I want to say, God bless you, Pete. God bless America, and God bless everyone. And thank you for listening.
All right, everybody. I'll see you all later. Thank you so much, David. I'll be right back to say goodbye to you officially. Everybody else, I'll see you next time.